Hare Krishna, everyone. So we will start again with chapter 10, continue with chapter 10 actually. So we yesterday spoke about what is Vibhuti Yoga and what is yoga. Yoga, I've already told you, it is connection to the Supreme Lord. Many types of yogas are there. And then we discussed what is Vibhuti Yoga. It is talking about Krishna's glories. So it is chapter 10 continuation. We did till 10 point, I think 19 shlokas. And Krishna has declared that his origin is not even known to God or any sages. And we are going to discuss his vibhutis today. Vibhuti means what? Forms or manifestations. When the entity, it changes its visible or non-visible state to transform into one or more visible formation, then it is called vibhuti. When we can see something happening and we see, oh wow, what manifestation is this? That manifestation is vibhuti. So in verse 19 we read where Lord Krishna had said that antate kathayeshyami divyahyatma vibhutayah pradhanyata kuru sreshta nastyatsto Nastentro Nastento Vistarasya me, where he had told about that I have telling you about the various manifestations of mind, but only I'm going to give you only those prominent ones, Arjuna, because my opulences, they are limitless. There are so many, countless. So I'll just give you a little bit. So from 19th verse onwards, Lord Krishna desires to increase Arjuna's devotion, right? So yesterday we have learned Krishna is knowable, he is unknowable, he is knowing that Krishna is unknowable. We know that he is the source of all. We also learned about Chatushloki from 10.8 to 10.11. And we know that Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the supreme and he wants to know more. And he is still thirsty for more, that has not quenched his thirst. And Lord Krishna describes his vibhutis, right? So we can see that Krishna is in everything and everywhere. So we see that Krishna is everywhere. Where can we see Krishna? I mean, in what do we see Krishna? Like, name some very important, significant, splendorous manifestations, as Krishna's opulence is limitless, right? So can anybody name any significant manifestations where we see Krishna? Where do we see Krishna? You can type in the chat box. Hare Krishna. Where do we see Krishna? Where, in what all can we see Krishna? Shibani Mataji, Kapil Muni, yes. In sound, Om, Rishi Prabhuji, right? We see Krishna. Where do we see? In fire, Sujata Mataji, correct? Sage Narada, Shivani Mataji, correct? Everywhere, Komal Prabhuji, yes. Water, Sujata Mataji, Ganges, everywhere in the world around us, Shri Priya Mataji, San Amit Prabhuji, Sujata Mataji, Ether. Yes, everybody is right. Yes, we see him everywhere. He's seated in our hearts. Krishna is seated in our hearts, right? He is in sun, moon, stars, Shiva. You name it, he is in it. He is in Vedas, he is in Agni, he is in devotees, he is in all the mountains, rivers, oceans. He is everywhere. And mainly he is in our heart of living entities, right? So we see Krishna everywhere. So we will see the glimpse of fragment. Krishna says fragment of Krishna's glories, not everything. There's so many, countless, but Krishna is going to show Arjuna little bit of his glories because he is the essence of all things he mentioned, right? So where can we see Krishna? We can see Krishna everywhere. We can see Krishna as a life force in our mind, right? Vedanam samavedosmi, devanam asmi vasavaha, indriyanam manashtasmi, bhutanam asmi chetana. So we see him in consciousness also, right? Vedas, we see him as Samaveda, Indra, God of heaven. In senses, we see he is our mind. Yes, in living beings, he is the life force or consciousness. So that's the life force, right? Purodhasam cha mukhyam mam vidhi partha brahaspatim senani namam skandaha sarsamasmi sagaraha. So he is in the ocean also. So everywhere, Prahaladashtasmi daityanam kalah kalayatamaham mriganam cha mrigendroham. Mrigendroham is the lord of all. So he is the king of the forest, who is lion. So mrigendoham. So among all the animals, among the beasts, I am the lion. So he's telling everything. He is into everything. So we need to see Krishna everywhere, right? Here we can see Ashwatha Sarva Vrikshanam Devarishir Naranam Naradaha Gandharvanam Chitrarataha Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. Then we can see, right? He is Narad Muni. Then Prahaladashtasmi Daityanam Kalah Kalayatamaham Mriganam Chamrigendoham Vainateyashcha Pakshina is Prahalad also. So Prahalad was the king of Hiranyakashipu and Kayadu, right? He was the father of Virochana, and he was a very saintly boy, we know, and he was a great, biggest devotee of Lord Vishnu. And even despite his father's abusive nature and behavior, he kept on, he had staunch devotion towards God Vishnu. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes the following statement in regards to Prahalad, saying that among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahalad. So that is why he took the name of Prahalad over here, because he feels that he is the biggest devotee of Krishna. And among the Narada, he feels that he is a great, he was devoted to Lord Vishnu. He would go all around the world reciting Narayana, Narayana. And Krishna, that is why says, you know, Ashwatha Sarva Vrikshanam Devarishir Naranam Devarishinam cha Naradaha. So among the Devarishis, Narada is the main one, because he used to go around always reciting completely in devotion. So we must also chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and we will go to Golok Dham. But we have to do it with devotion. That's the condition, precondition. Now here, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, because Arjuna asked him, what all are your opulences, your manifestations and your vibhutis? So Krishna is telling that I am among Adityas, I am Vishnu. So from Puranas, we learned that there was a sage called Kashyap Muni. He had two wives, Aditi and Diti, right? And from his first wife, Aditi, he had 12 personalities, celestial, heavenly personalities. And Lord Krishna states that Aditya, 12 sons of Aditi. So Vishnu reveals his opulence from those 12 Adityas. And he is the sun among the light. Like at night, if you switch off all the lamps, even if with all the stars and even in the moon also, still we feel that, you know, it's still dark, right? So to remove the dark, but as soon as the sun rises in the morning, the night gets dispelled. So this is the power of sun, which Krishna reveals that it is his vibhuti. Then comes stars and the moon. Among the stars, he says, I am the moon also, right? So then you know what? He is the, among Vedas, he is the Sama Veda. And among the demigods, he is Indra. Even same sage Kashyap had two wives, right? He had Aditi and Diti. From Diti, he had children who were Daityas, demons, right? So Diti desired to have a son more powerful than Indra, because Indra was the celestial god, right? So she kept her in her baby in her womb for more than 1 year. And then Indra then used his thunderbolt, and, you know, he split her fetus into many, many pieces, but it turned into many, many fetuses. So then they became actually Maruts. So that there were 49 kinds of winds, you know, that flow in the universe. And that was, wind was called Marichi. So that was also there. So among the Maruts, he was a Marichi. Marichi is the wind god. So that is Diti's son. There were 49 kinds of ferocious wind blowing in the sky. So among the stars, he is the moon, prominent because it reveals his opulence. Then among the Vedas, as I told you, is Samaveda, because Samaveda is actually very musical, and it is sung in the praise of Lord. That's why he is Samaveda. Then Krishna says he is Vasava. Vasava means what? Another name for Indra. And he is the chief of heavenly planets, right? So only a soul with many lifetimes of pious deeds is promoted to that position of Indra. So it's a very important position. And Krishna is the mind, is the mind among the senses. Why? The five senses are there, right? They will function correctly only if the mind is attentive to it. If it is not attentive, then what will happen? If it wanders away, senses cannot function properly. For example, you are hearing with your ears now, right? What I am saying. But if your mind is wandering away somewhere, right, while I'm speaking, so that those words are lost to you, you won't understand. So mind is the king of senses. Krishna says that he is the life force or consciousness among the beings. Consciousness, it's a quality of the soul, it discriminates what is right, what is wrong. And also tells the difference between a living being and a dead person. The presence of consciousness is the difference, because if the consciousness is not there, it is absent in a dead person's body. So consciousness exists in the soul by the divine power of Lord Krishna. Then Rudras, he is Shankar. Rudras, there are 11 forms of Lord Shiva, and he is out of that, he is Shankar, Lord Shiva in that. Shankar is the original form. Then he is the Yakshas and Rakshasas. He is, they are very fond of having a lot of wealth. So Kuber is the god of wealth, right? He is the treasurer of celestial gods. So he says, I am Kubera. Then among the priests, who are the priests? They perform ritualistic worships and ceremonies in temples and homes, right? And Brihaspati is the chief priest in the heaven. So he's the topmost of all priests. So Krishna says, among priests, I am Brihaspati. Then there is Kartikeya. Kartikeya is the son of Lord Shiva, and he is also known by the name of Skanda. So he is the main commander-in-chief of all the heavenly gods, right? The celestial gods. So he is the commander-in-chief. So he says, I am that. I reflect with that as Kartikeya. So Krishna further is saying that he is also the body of water as mighty ocean, right? And then Brahma. So he is first living creature within the universe was Brahma, right? He created many, many sons to have more species, more population. Among these sons, Bhrigu was the most powerful sage. So he says, I am Bhrigu out of them. So he says, among the sages, I am Bhrigu. Then he says, of all the transcendental vibrations, he says, I am Omkara, right? Omkara represents Krishna. So for the practice of ritualistic yajna, number of rules are applicable when you do yajna, right? All of which has to be very meticulously followed. But however, when you are doing japa yajna, there are no rules. Of all sacrifices, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the purest representation of Krishna. So in even they say, right, Kali Juga Kevala Nama Adhara Sumari Nara Uttara Hind Para, means in Ramayana they have said that in age of Kali, only the chanting and remembrance of the names of God is the most powerful means of crossing the ocean of this material world. And of the many, many sages, so that is the whole chanting of holy name, Japa. Among the sacrifices, Japa is most important. And among the great sages, all the main, if you notice, I don't know whether you have seen or not, many great sages reside in Himalayas. In some of the sages are in their subtle bodies also. They are practicing their penance. And therefore, Krishna says that the Himalayas, the greatest mountain in the world, also represents him. Then among the trees, so there is a banyan tree, Ashwatha tree. It is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, holy fig, Ashwatha. So people in India really worship, even Buddha meditated and he attained enlightenment under a people tree, right? That's sacred fig tree. So among the sages of the demigods, Narada, we all know how great Narada was. He was guru of many, many, many personalities like Ved Vyasa, Valmiki, Dhruv, Prahlad Maharaj. So many. He was always engaged in singing the glories of the Lord and doing a lot of divine work throughout the three worlds, Swarga, Mrityuloka, and Patala also, right? So amongst the demigod, we worship, they also worship Narada, right? And Krishna says he is the representative of the sages of the demigod. Then singers of the demigod, Chitraratha. The singers are in Gandharva planet. In Gandharva planet, they all sing very beautifully. I mean, among the best singer is Chitraratha. So he says he represents Chitraratha. Among Siddhas, perfected beings, Siddhas. So among Siddhas, Kapila Muni, he is a son of Devahuti. He is also representation of Krishna, he says. And then among horses, Uchchaishrava. So Uchchaishrava, what in Uchchaishrava came out of the demigod and asuras, they had this Samudra Manthan, churning of the sea. From this churning, nectar and the poison came out. And Lord Shiva, he drank the poison. From the nectar, there were many entities came out. Many entities were produced, out of which there was a horse named Uchchaishrava. And there was another animal that was produced out of nectar. It was called Airavata. So that was an elephant. So because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have very special significance, right? And Uchchaishrava is it's a winged, white color winged horse. It belongs to Indra. Even Airavata belongs to Indra. It's very, that Uchchaishrava is the fastest horse, they say. So that is Airavata. Then Krishna continues to tell, among us human beings, he is the king. Why? King represents the whole nation, right? So he says, I am the king. And then among weapons, he is Vajra. Vajra means thunderbolt, which is Indra's weapon. He says, I am the mighty weapon. Why did he choose that? Because in Puranas, there is a story about the sacrifice by the great sage Dadhichi, which can't be compared. It's unparalleled, like what kind of sacrifice he did. Indra was once driven out, by a demon. I think his name was Vritasura. So the demon had a boon, whereby he could not be killed by any weapon known till then, that time. So Lord Indra was very desperate. So he went to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva said, let's go to Lord Vishnu. Let's find out. So Lord Vishnu says, okay, I have an idea. You have to go to sage Dadhichi. You have to request him with his bones. You can make a weapon, thunderbolt weapon. And with that bone only, we will be able to kill that demon, because there were those weapons, whatever was available that time, were useless. So Indra goes to sage Dadhichi and he requests. So sage Dadhichi thinks, okay, my life is okay, useful in this way, fine, but I have a wish. I want to go to all the holy rivers first. So Indra didn't want to waste any more time. So he got all the holy rivers in one place. And so he wanted to, actually Dadhichi wanted to go on a pilgrimage, but he brought all the holy rivers to Naimisharanya. And Dadhichi then with his penance and with his yogic techniques, he gave up his life. And with that his bones, that thunderbolt was made. That's written in Puranas. And then the demon was defeated, and then Indra got his throne back. So Krishna, that is why deliberately he refers to that Vajra, because he says that's my Vibhuti. Instead of his own chakra and his mace, he could have said, right, his gada, his chakra, he could have said that. But he deliberately takes the name of Vajra because he doesn't want that sacrifice of Dadhichi to go waste, right? So he says, I am that Vibhuti. Then after that, it is cow. In Krishna Loka, you have cows, right? In that spiritual planet, the cows can be milked at any time. They will keep on giving you as much milk as you want. So Lord keeps a lot of many such cows, and those cows are called Surabhi. So he says, among the cows, I am Surabhi. And then in among the procreators, he is Kandarpa. Kandarpa is none other than Kamadeva. But Krishna says, I represent Kamadeva, but not sex is not to be engaged only for your sense gratification, but sex for the generation of good children, pious children, only for that. Then I represent Kamadeva. So among the serpents, he represents Vasuki. And among the many hooded snakes, he represents Ananta. Ananta is the divine serpent on whom Lord Vishnu rests, right? He possesses like 10,000 hoods. And it's said that with each hood, he keeps describing the glories of God. And it has not yet been completed. There are so many glories, so many vibhutis, he has not yet completed it, they say. And then among the aquatic deities, he is Varuna. Varuna is the celestial god of ocean. Then among departed ancestors, he is Aryama. Aryama was the third son of Aditi. He is worshipped as the head of departed ancestors. Then among the dispensers of law, he is Yama. Everybody knows Yamraj, right? He is ready to take the life of anyone after he arranges the soul to be to take away the soul from our mortal being, right? And what does he do after that? He starts seeing whether he should do justice, right? On behalf of God, he is the one who represents God in that, in dispensing the judgment. And then he will give us punishment or reward, right? Grants us that. He does not deviate even a single inch from his duties, even though it may be painful or it may be gruesome. He is, Krishna says, he reflects the perfect dispenser of justice. Then next one is Daitya demons. He represents Prahlad. As I told you, Diti and Aditi, they were two sisters. Then sons of Ditis were called Adityas, and sons of Aditi were called Adityas, and Diti were called Daityas. So all the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas or demons are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of Daityas, demons, he was a great devotee from his childhood. We all know that he had, because of his devotional service, he was considered to be the representative of Krishna. So as we know, that is why Prahlad best reflects God's glory. Then comes time, subduer. Time is the greatest subduer that wears down even the biggest and mightiest entities of the universe. We can't beat the time. Then of many animals, beasts, he is the lion. He represents the lion, the most powerful and ferocious, right? And among the birds, he represents Garuda. Garuda is the divine vehicle of Lord Vishnu. Everyone knows that, and is the greatest bird he is the greatest among all the birds. Then among the wielders of among the purifiers, it's the wind. So wind purifies, it converts impure water into water vapor. Then it carries a dirty smell also with the wind. The dirty smell of the earth also sometimes, it carries it away. Then it makes fire burn by fueling it with oxygen. Then it's a great purifier of nature. That's why he said, I am the great purifier. Then next is the wielder of weapon, Rama. Lord Rama was the most powerful warrior on earth, right? And his bow was the deadliest weapon. Yet he actually never used his weapon in any other way. He did not abuse that dominant superiority, right? Every time he used his weapon, he used it for a just reason, not for anything else, only for good reason. That is why Krishna says he is the wielder of weapons. And Ram, of course, Lord Rama was avatar of God, and Krishna identifies with him, right? And then among the fishes, he says, I am shark. Shark is the biggest and most dangerous to man, right? So shark represents Krishna. Among the flowing rivers, he says he is Ganges. Ganges is is a holy river, right? And it's where is it? Where does it start from? Its beginning is from the divine feet of the Lord. It descended on earth, right? From the heavenly abode. So Ganges is a very holy river. So he says he represents Ganges. Creation's beginning, end, and also middle. Krishna has stated that he is the beginning, he is the middle, and he is the end of all living beings. So he states that it's the same for all creation, right? I'm for everything. Then sciences, spiritual science of the self. So he says that other than that, he's the creator, maintainer, and annihilator, right? So he represents that Vibhuti among the sciences. He represents all the Vedas. He represents all the Vedanta Sutra. Everything he represents. He says all the Puranas. So he represents all the sciences. That is Vedanta Sutra. Then among the logicians, he is the conclusive truth. So logicians here, when somebody argues in Sanskrit, it's called Jalpa. And then if somebody is like avoiding the proper deliberation on truth, he will just move away. Doesn't want to get into any kind of arguments, is called Vitanda. And Vada is the logical conclusion of the discussion. You are doing Vad Vivad. In Hindi also we say Vad Vivad. So Vada. The word Vada in that shloka is logic. So he says, I am the conclusive truth among the logicians. That is why, because he used the word Vada. And then he says, I am a letter in among the letters, I am a. So what is it? In Sanskrit, all the letters formed, they are formed by combining the letter a. When you combine the letter half ka plus a will become ka. So that is why every letter you have to add a, then only it becomes alphabet. So that is why he said that I am the alphabet. I am a in the letters. Then comes compound words, dual word, Dvanda Samasa. Dvanda Samasa is what? In Sanskrit language, when we combine two words, it's called compound words in English. And it's called Dvand Samas in Hindi also. Dvand Samas is like, for example, you say Radha Krishna. So dual word, Radha Krishna. It's an example of Dvand Samas. So Krishna highlights that is my Vibhuti as well. And then he says, I am the creator. I represent Brahma, because he singles out Lord Brahma because he's the firstborn, right? Hiranyagarbha. So Brahma is the one who made the entire universe. He was the one who was doing all that, right? So he says that amongst creators, he had the creative ability of Brahma. Breast reflects his glory. So many opulences, he kept on going, so many. And then he says it's just a fraction. Then he is as soon as the man is born, he dies at every minute, right? We are dying every minute. We think we are celebrating our birthday. No, it's going. We are dying every minute. So death is devouring every living entity at every moment. So the last stroke that will be is called death. And that death, he says, is Krishna. Then among women, he says, among women, I am the fame, I am the fortune, I am the speech, I am memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. These are certain qualities seen in the personality of women, It's very praiseworthy in men and women, both actually. So it shows that you are a well-rounded personality. So these are the qualities. So Lord Krishna is listing these qualities over here as virtues. And he says it makes women glorious. So first three of these are like fame, fortune, speech. These are outward, right? You can see that. But memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience, they're inside. All the first three are outside, and the other three you see inside. For future development, he says that we undergo many changes, like we are born, we grow, then we remain for some time, then we reproduce, we have babies, then we get old age, then disease, and then die, right? So of these changes, he says, the first, it comes out from the womb, right? And he says that is Krishna. So then he says among the first generation, he says because Prajapati, Daksha, he was the first one, right? First generation that time, beginning all the future activities. So the first progenitor of humankind, Daksha, had 24 daughters. And the 5 of these were called like Kirti, Smriti, Medha, Dhriti, Kshama. We have that in the shloka, right? Kirti Shri Vakchanari Nam. So that one. So he says he's Kirti, Smriti, Medha, Dhriti, Kshama. And Shri was the daughter of Bhrigu Maharaj. Vak was the daughter of Brahma. So seeing all these names, these 7 women, they were all presiding deities. So that is why they have 7 qualities mentioned in this verse. And then he says, these are all qualities are my vibhutis. So he has given a lot of respect to women as well. Then earlier he had said, right, he is the Samaveda, right? He said, I am Samaveda. Among that Samaveda is like full of devotional songs. Among that, he says that I am Samaveda. He says, I am Brihat Sama, Brihat Sama, which is another melodious hymn. It is normally sung at midnight. Then he says, among the poetry, he is Gayatri. Gayatri mantra everyone knows, right? Om Bhurbhuva Swaha. It's very important. And it is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Then among all the months, he says, I am spring. Spring is known as like what? Ritu Raja, king of seasons, right? So it is a very beautiful time. It's a very joyful time. All the leaves are coming up. So he says, I am spring, flower bearing springtime. Among splendid, I am the splendor, he says. So I am the best of all kind, splendor. Then I am the victory, I am the adventure, he says. And among the strong, I am the strength. Then he says, I forgot the cheats. Among the cheats, I am gambling. That one, I'm sorry, I forgot that one. Among the cheats, gambling. There's so many kinds of cheaters, right? All over the universe. So among the cheating processes, he says gambling stands supreme. Krishna feels that gambling is the supreme and therefore represents Krishna. So as Krishna can be more deceitful than any other mere man. You know, if he chooses to deceive a person, no one can surpass him, he says. So that is why he says that is also one of my vibhutis only. It's not one-sided, he is all-sided vibhutis. So Krishna mentions that it is not only virtue, but he has got vice also as his opulence. So gambling is a dangerous vice. You know, you will lose everything. Yudhishthira, we remember, right? What did Yudhishthira do? Yudhishthira played in Mahabharata. We know that it was Yudhishthira's weakness playing, he gambled, and that led to Mahabharata war also, right? But if it's God's glory, then there is no harm in it, right? Then why is it forbidden? When we are saying it is Krishna's vibhuti, then why we say you should not gamble then? Answer is that, God grants the power to the soul. And along with it, he is giving the freedom of choice. He is giving the power to the soul and giving freedom of choice. But if we choose to forget Krishna or him or the Lord, he gives us power to forget also. The moment you say, oh, I can forget, he will give you that choice. He will give you the freedom to forget Lord also. And then what will happen? It's like, this is just as like electric power. It can be used both to heat the house also, to cool the house also. We can use air conditioner to cool the house, and we can use heater to heat the house. The user is free to choose how to utilize the power. Similarly, like, the powerhouse that supplies this is not responsible to use or misuse the power. The powerhouse is giving you power. Now it is up to you. You want to put heater or you want to cool it, right? Similarly, a gambler, a gambler, he possesses intellect. Intellect will discriminate, an ability that is supplied by God. If he decides to misuse these God-given gifts, then God is not responsible. God is giving the power. Up to you. You want to gamble or you don't want to gamble. It is your choice. So he says he is not responsible for your sinful deeds. Okay. And then I told you that he is the splendor of the splendid. Then he is victorious among victory. Then he is very enterprising and very industrious. Like he is very strong, right? He is among adventurous. He is really. He wants to. He is the most adventurous. He is the strongest among the strong. And when Krishna was present on this earth, when he came down, no one could surpass him in his strength. And what is the proof? When he was just 7 years old, he lifted a Govardhan hill with his little finger. Who can surpass him, right? No one can surpass him in cheating. No one can surpass him in splendor. No one can surpass him in victory. No one can surpass him in enterprise. No one can surpass him in strength, right? Okay, so then he is the descendant of Vrishni, Vasudeva. He took birth on this earth in Vrishni dynasty as the son of Vasudeva, right? So no one could have excelled the Lord. That is why he is the greatest personality in Vrishni dynasty. Then he says, among Pandavas, I am Arjuna. So Arjuna is known as Dhananjaya also, right? He is the best of men. And therefore he represents Krishna. Among Munis, sages, he says, I am a Vyasa, because Vyasa was the greatest Muni, right? He wrote so many Vedic, he had a lot of Vedic knowledge, and then he wrote many things, and he explained Vedic knowledge in many different ways for us common people, for people in the age of Kali, right? So then among thinkers, then he is Ushana. Among the Kavis, he is Ushana. Ushana is the spiritual guru of Daityas, Shukracharya, spiritual masters of the demon. So Ushana is another name of Shukracharya. And then he says, I represent that. So next is among punishments, I am rod of chastisement. Chastisement. So he is the symbol of royal power. He will punish the guilty. And victory seekers, his morality, that victory which goes towards the path of righteousness, right? It signifies the power of God. Then he is the silence among confidential activities of hearing, thinking, meditating. You have to be very silent, right? Because silence is very important when you are meditating, when you are hearing something, when you are thinking something, you need silence. So silence is very important. And by silence, one can make progress very quickly. So he says, I am the silence. Then he says, among wise, I am the wisdom. So wise man is, who is wise man? Wise man is somebody who can discriminate between matter and spirit, right? Between God, superior energy, and his inferior energy. So he says, Krishna says he is wisdom among the wise. So many he has given his opulences. And then he says, Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tadama arjuna natadasti vina yatsat maya bhutam characharam. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am generating seed of all existences. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me. So without Krishna's energy, nothing can exist. So if he is omnipotent, means he is all powerful. Without his power, nothing can move. Like living beings, they are born in 4 ways. One is like andaj. Andaj is like born from eggs, like birds are born, snakes are born, lizards lay eggs. Then Jarayu. Jarayu is from womb. Like humans, we give babies birth from the womb. Cows, mammals, dogs, cats. Then Swadesh means from sweat. What comes out from sweat? Lice comes out from sweat, ticks and lice, right? Then there is Udbis, sprouting from the earth, like trees, creepers, grass, and corn, right? So many life forms are there. So there are other life forms like ghosts are there. Then there are evil spirits are there. So Lord Krishna is the origin of everyone, all of them. Just imagine, right? So self is the source of creation, just as seed is the source of trees. Self is the source of creation, where seed is the source of a tree. So this idea is repeated many, many times here in Bhagavad Gita. When the seed is germinating, coming out, it dies to become a tree, right? It germinates, the seed is open and then tree comes out, right? But that is not the case when it comes to self. So Krishna is saying that he is the seed of universe. From there only everybody is germinating and growing. So he's telling he is the seed, and from there everybody is going. Just like all the waves during their appearance and disappearance, wave comes and wave goes, right? They are sustained by the ocean, without and without which waves cannot exist on its own. It is a part and parcel of the ocean, right? The waves come, the waves go, but it is coming out from the ocean, so it cannot exist on its own. So nothing can exist without the self, right? It is the essence of everything. Like cloth. If there is a cloth, cloth has come out from cotton, right? So no cloth can exist without cotton. If for example, if this is cotton, so this cotton cloth has come out from cotton. So no cloth can exist without the cotton. That is the origin. So he says, I am the seed. Bijam. Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tadaham Arjuna. I am the seed. From there, everybody is generating. Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa eshatu deshatah prokto vibhuter vistaro maya. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is mere indication of my infinite opulences. Krishna is now concluding the topic of his opulences. From verse 21 to 38, he has been describing his infinite opulences. We have seen 64 points. We were discussing each and every one. Krishna is now telling that he has spoken only one portion. One portion, he's saying, you know. Eshatu desha prokta. So he's saying, I have given little bit of the whole. Vibhuter vistaro maya. I have given very little topic, you know. He's saying that he has spoken only one portion of the breadth of the topic. The whole topic he has given small. Then we get the question in mind that if everything is opulence of God, then what was the need of mentioning some only over here? Answer is that Arjuna had asked Lord Krishna how he should think about him, of him. So Krishna says, okay, because you are asking that question, that how I should think of you, I will tell you about I'll mention some of my glories because you have asked me. Why? Because, you know, mind normally, you know, it gets drawn to specialities. Like we see something special and, oh, wow, and we say, right? So Lord has revealed these specialities amongst his powers. So next time we see ocean, wow, Krishna. We see sun, wow, Krishna. We see moon, wow, Krishna. Prahalad, oh, wow, he's a devotee of Krishna. He represents Krishna. So we see, right? For example, we see like in the screen I'm showing you, this is like Amul hoarding in India, right? They're very interesting, sometimes very funny to read also. So whenever you see that, you remember, oh, Amul butter. They come up with beautiful and very interesting ads actually, right? So he came, he saw, he conquered. That saw is like 100 saw. So we really laugh at it. What, you know, how come they came up with such ideas? The ad celebrated 100 runs scored by Sachin. Saw means like 100, right? So he saw is actually SAW, but they changed it to this. So we immediately look at Amul butter and say, oh, wow, what an interesting hoarding. So we remember like that. And even a paint company also in India, you know, it will come up with like an advertisement, like whenever you see colors, think of us. So they come up with interesting hoardings. So in this case, Lord Krishna is saying, wherever you see a display of glory, think of me. So whenever we see something, wow, Krishna, right? Lord is infinite. So are his manifestations are also limitless. There is no end to narrate all the glories that Lord has provided. But Lord gave told Arjuna some specific examples, right? So that he can see that, okay, these are also some of the manifestations. But Lord is limitless opulences. Yadyat vibhute mat sattvam shri madurjitameva va tattadeva avagachatvam mama tejomshva sambhavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. See, electricity flowing through speaker. There are speakers and electricity is flowing through that, right? That is how the sound comes. It creates sound. But one who does not know that principle behind how it works, if we do not know how it works, we may think that sound is coming, like speaker is making that sound and speaker is making the sound and the sound is coming from it. So similarly, whenever we see some extraordinary splendor anywhere, it catches our imagination, right? It gives us a lot of happiness. And we should know that it is the glory of God. It is infinite reservoir of beauty. His six opulences, beauty. What are his six opulences? Power, knowledge, renunciation, everything. All his opulences. We should think whenever we see. So he says, know that all beautiful, glorious and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. That's just a spark. We can imagine how great he is, right? Athava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyahamidam kritsnam ekamshena sthito jagat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Lord here is telling Arjuna that he should know that all these things are existing due to Krishna entering them as super soul. Krishna is there in everything, small atom also. Anu, he is there. Anuraniyam, he says, right? From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, down to the smallest atom or the ant when it comes to animals also. All are existing because Lord has entered into them and he is sustaining them. If he comes out, everything is gone. So Krishna is saying that entire creation of unlimited universe is held in the fraction of his being. Now, fraction of his being, he says, with single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. What does this mean? We may get a question, right? Why does Krishna make a reference of fraction of his being, fragment of his being? Why? Reason is that this entire material creation that we see, we understand now that entire material creation consisting of unlimited universes is only 1/4 of God's entire manifestation. Just 1/4. So what is the 3/4? 1/4, if we are saying that entire material creation is just 1/4, then what is that 3/4? The remaining 3/4 is spiritual creation. His spiritual creation is 3/4. And this entire material creation, that entire so many universes that he creates is just 1/4. That is why he says single fragment of myself. So this is the evidence is given in Purusha Suktam. Padosya Vishwa Bhutani Kripasya Mritam Divi. That means, like, Pados means temporary world. It is made from this material energy. It's just one part of Supreme Divine Personality, says. So he says, like, in Purusha Suktam, when we read Purusha Suktam, we have like Mantra Purusha, Sri Suktam, Purusha Suktam. In that it is given. What it says, Padosya Vishwa Bhutani Kripatsya Mritam Divi. So it is just a part, 3/4 part of our spiritual abodes. They are beyond the phenomena of life and death, because in spiritual you don't have life and death. It's beyond the cycle of life and death. That's spiritual abodes. So the 3 parts are there. Just 1/4 part is the material creation, says Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what Krishna says here. So we must see Krishna in everything. We must remember. So let's remember that anything good in me is a reflection of Krishna. Anything that you are doing good, don't think you are doing. We are not doing anything. It's a reflection of Krishna only that we are doing. So chapter 10 came to an end. What did we learn? He is source of everything. So to know Krishna, he is the source of all. He is known yet unknown. He is known, but we do not know him completely, right? So that is the source. He is the source of everything. Then essence of Bhagavad Gita. What did we learn? We had Sambandha, awareness, one's relationship with Krishna. Then Abhidaya, process, how to achieve Krishna. Then Prayojana, what is the goal? We have to love for Krishna. We have to develop love of Krishna. So Sambandha, that is awareness, one's relationship with Krishna. Then the process is how to achieve Krishna, and the goal is to love Krishna. So this we did. Then Arjuna wanted to enlighten more. He wanted to know more about his vibhutis. So Krishna has accepted that, Arjuna has accepted that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he is very eager to know about his vibhutis. So we must see Krishna everywhere. Krishna told about his manifestations, his Aishwarya, and then Krishna is the essence of everything. We understood that. So we learned that Krishna is knowable and the source of all, 10.1 to 10.7. Name Vidus Suragana. Then pure bhakti, essence of Bhagavad Gita, 10.8 to 11. Machitta Madgata Prana, Arjuna accepts Krishna as supreme position, 10.12 to 18. Sarvam etat amritam manye, dhritam manye. Then Lord Krishna describes his vibhutis, 19 to 42. Divya Yatma Vibhutaya. So this is all about this. Arjuna requests Krishna. He has accepted, he has surrendered, he has accepted Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he will be telling Krishna to show him his Vishwarupa tomorrow, cosmic form, universal form. Arjuna is wanting to know that. Hare Krishna. So we should water the devotion by developing eagerness to hear. Why? Because it increases faith, conviction, and determination. We must try and develop devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarupasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.